A major pro-life victory following another pro-life victory. That was in the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals. This is in the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals en banc. And this is huge, folks, because this has been a case that's been fought since the Obama administration, states taking the pro-life battle to the federal courts. And now with the changes on the federal courts, and I'll walk through those in a minute, you've got a significant victory in the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals that through Medicaid funding, states do not have to use Medicaid funding. They can cut off Planned Parenthood through Medicaid funding. This would affect Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. These challenges date back to 2015, but there's been a significant change. See, when it was a 3-judge panel on the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals, Texas and Louisiana lost. They said you can't cut off that funding to Planned Parenthood. But then it went en banc, and let me explain why it's so different. It's a credit to President Trump. It's a credit to Senate Judiciary Chair Lindsey Graham getting these nominees confirmed. The court's personnel has changed a lot since these cases were first brought in 2015. Now 6 nominees of Republican President Donald Trump sit on the court. 4 of them participated in Monday's case, and all 4 joined Judge Priscilla Owens' opinion for an 11-member majority. It was 11 to 5 in that decision. This is a huge pro-life victory, and it sets the stage for how states can defund Planned Parenthood through a Medicaid, which is a program that the federal government and the states administer together through a mixture of funds. And I want to go right to Than Bennett, Washington, D.C. Than, this is a testament to what President Trump has been able to do with judicial nominees, working with Senator Lindsey Graham, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, of course, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader. And there's more work to be done. Tell people about the numbers that have been confirmed and the numbers that will likely be confirmed. Even if the president does not get a second term, tell people the numbers that will still get confirmed to the courts.
Yeah, this has already been a generational impacting legacy for President Trump, Jordan. There's just no other way to describe it. There have been 227 federal judges confirmed under the Trump administration through the United States Senate, 3 of them to the Supreme Court of the United States, 53, Jordan, at the U.S. Circuit Court level, which is the level that we're talking about today, 168 district court judges, and then 3 judges to the International Trade Court. And Jordan, you're right. I mean, this impact, it's not done yet because the Senate is still in session. The president's his first term is not over until January 20th. There are 6 district court judges that are awaiting confirmation votes on the floor of the Senate. They're queued up. Leader McConnell has them ready to go. And then there are 23 judges still in committee that are being processed as we speak, getting prepared to send to the Senate floor. And Jordan, I would just note 2 of them particularly. We've talked about how President Trump has left no vacancy out on the circuit court level, a tremendous accomplishment. There are now 2 fresh vacancies. One is for Amy Coney Barrett's seat on the 7th Circuit, and the other one is on the 1st Circuit where a judge passed away. So, Jordan, those 2 nominations have been made. They are moving forward, and if confirmed, Jordan, that would make 55 circuit court judges nominated by President Trump and confirmed by the United States Senate. We can get into how it impacted this case you're talking about today, but I'll just say this. For this case and many others, Jordan, this is one of the legacies that we at the ACLJ are going to be standing on and working with for generations to come.
All right, folks. Frank Mannion and Jeff Surtees will be joining us, ACLJ senior counsels, about these major pro-life victories back-to-back in the 6th Circuit and the 5th Circuit, and what this means going forward to the U.S. Supreme Court and, of course, the ACLJ's work. This is a matching challenge month. Whatever you're able to donate to the ACLJ, we've got a group of donors that say whatever comes in, we will match those donations. Donate today. Double your impact at aclj.org.
It is a critical time for our nation, and the American Center for Law and Justice is on the front lines, defending life and liberty, engaging the issues that matter most to you and your family. Whether it's working to protect Americans from the dangers of radical Islam and the persecution of Christians, to defending life at the U.S. Supreme Court, to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms, we could not do this work without you, without your support. And now your support can really make a tremendous difference. For a limited time, you can participate in the ACLJ Matching Challenge. If you make a gift now, it will be doubled. $25 becomes $50. A $100 gift becomes $200. Please stand with the ACLJ right now and call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or go online at aclj.org. Thank you for your support.
Can you tell me how many of your affiliates receive the majority of their revenue from abortion?
I don't know that answer.
Could you get it for me?
I'll talk to my team.
I think what we need to look at is the business of abortion. And the business of abortion starts with a sale.
An organization is chopping up children and selling the body parts to the highest bidder.
They can call it whatever they like. The reality is they've been caught red-handed.
I was told it was just a blob of tissue. She looked me dead in the eye. She said, "It's not a baby. It's a blob of tissue."
We really did treat women like second-class citizens.
Do not ever kid yourself. They know exactly what they're doing.
We were driven by this quota.
I didn't want the baggage, in all honesty, of having a child.
I pretended I was fine, but I wasn't fine.
She said, "This is the best choice for you."
They're in the business of abortion. They worship at the altar of abortion.
Most people working in the abortion clinic make more money than they can anywhere else.
We would talk to them about gestational dates and what sort of abortion they could do, whether it was the medication abortion or the surgical abortion, depending on how far along they were. We would talk briefly about what the procedure would actually be like. I remember getting a directive from my supervisor, that we didn't want to give them too much information about the abortion procedure. We didn't want to talk to them about risks associated with the procedure because we didn't want to scare them out of having an abortion.
Does no one see what's really going on in America? Is this really who we're going to be?
Stand with the ACLJ as we continue to fight to protect life by participating in our matching challenge. Join the matching challenge today, and your tax-deductible donation will be doubled.
Welcome back to Jay Sekulow Live. Another major pro-life victory out of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, an en banc panel. And this en banc panel, 11-member majority, Judge Priscilla Owen writing the opinion for that en banc panel. Four of the judges that participated in that en banc panel are Trump nominees. He nominated 6 to this court. 1 had to be recused. 1 joined the court too late. But it just shows you how the courts have been changed and are still in the process of that change. We talked about with Sam Bennett. There's still more nominees that will be confirmed regardless of who becomes president in January. That there will be more Trump nominees confirmed to the federal bench. Frank Mannion is joining us again, senior counsel with the ACLJ, because, Frank, I want to take people through. These are battles that we have been fighting, Frank, for a number. I mean, this case, the Fifth Circuit, dates back to the Obama years of 2015.
Right, that's right. The point you're making, which I think is something that people have to know, is that these pro-life victories don't come overnight. And we weren't getting very many pro-life victories. We make the arguments and we go into court and we get shot down. But with this latest batch of appointments that we're seeing to the federal courts of appeals, it's a whole new day. I mean, whatever ends up happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, for pro-life litigators, it is morning in America. And it looks like it's going to be that way for a long time. Because remember, federal judges have lifetime appointments. They don't run for office every 4 years or every 8 years. They're there for as long as they want, as long as God wants them there. And so this is a whole new day. 2 days in a row, we're talking about Court of Appeals pro-life victories. This is unprecedented. So
yesterday's victory, let's just explain that to people because everybody doesn't listen each day. That was at the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. We were asked there's a case out of Tennessee. We were asked by the Tennessee Attorney General directly for the ACLJ to get involved, write a amicus brief in that case. Explain just quickly that victory, and then we'll move on to the new victory.
Right. In that case, the court ruled in favor of the state of Tennessee with regard to its ban on abortions for race, gender, and Down syndrome diagnosis. Again, there are courts of appeal decisions out there that go the other way, but this is a new day, and this is a huge victory for the cause of life. And today we get news out of Texas, out of the Fifth Circuit, that the states of Texas and Louisiana are allowed to disqualify Planned Parenthood as a Medicaid provider. There are courts of appeals around the country. In fact, the majority of them go the other way. The Fifth Circuit now joins the Eighth Circuit, which of course sets up the classic circuit split, which is the kind of case the Supreme Court takes. These decisions weren't happening 4 years ago, even 2 or 3 years ago, before some of these recent appointments actually got on the bench. But we are seeing a whole turnaround in what federal courts are going to do on the issue of life. And the other thing to remember is these cases build on factual records that the ACLJ in its litigation over the years, sometimes even in losing litigation, has established. The cases out of Texas, Louisiana are based on the CMP videos, Center for Medical Progress. We represented a board member of the Center of Medical Progress. There were cases filed in Texas against Planned Parenthood for billing practices that we were involved in years ago. All of these are part of the case that we saw today out of Texas and Louisiana, and that's kind of the nature of what we do. It doesn't happen overnight, but we're now seeing the fruits of our labors finally.
So let's move on. So we got the Sixth Circuit. Now to the Fifth Circuit. This was an en banc panel. Cases out of Texas and Louisiana, but it also affects Mississippi now, their opinion. And tell people about we briefly told people about this is a way that states can actively defund Planned Parenthood. Tell people about this victory because it took going to the en banc panel of the Fifth Circuit.
Right, and here's the significance of that. The first time this case was argued, the states lost in a 7-7 tie. En banc means all of the judges of a particular circuit. Normally, courts of appeals make decisions based on 3-judge panels. But when there's an issue of exceptional importance that more members of the court think that they need to weigh in on, they convene the entire court, called the en banc court. And in this case, it was, I believe, 16 judges. Well, a few years ago, before the recent Trump appointments, the case lost. Our side lost 7-7. And now we have an 11-5 victory. Shows the importance of judicial appointments.
You know, I think that this, again, I want to go to Than Bennett, too, because, Than, we look at this. President Trump's nominated and confirmed 6 new judges to the Fifth Circuit. 4 of them were participating yesterday. 1 had to recuse, 1 joined too late, but there are more coming as well to the federal bench. I mean, this is, again, it's breathing new life into the battle for life that the ACLJ has been engaged in since our founding.
Yeah, all across the country, Jordan. I mean, first of all, there are 3 circuit courts that have flipped majorities outright. The 2nd, the 3rd, and the 11th. There's another court like the 9th, which notoriously has been the most difficult circuit court for us to litigate in. That 10 of those 29 judges have now been nominated by President Trump, Jordan, and we've seen good rulings come out of there because, you know, the closer that spread is, the more likely it is that you're going to get a good draw out of it. And then you have cases like the 5th Circuit that Frank just talked about, where it's not necessarily been a flip, but it was a draw the last time this same case was heard, and now it's an overwhelming 11-5 win. And Jordan, that was without one of the Trump nominees even getting to hear the case because of joining it too late and another being recused. So just dramatic improvement. And again, you want to talk about continuing to work through the end of the deadline here. The Senate is still in session. They're going to be in session through Christmas, mostly in. They have a number of these hearings that still have to be moved out of committee and then onto the floor. So there's a lot of other things that we're looking at, Jordan, and this is something that you and I discussed yesterday. There's the ongoing election litigation. There's the potential transition that's moving forward. But Jordan, as Frank mentioned, these are judges that would have lifetime appointments on the federal bench. They've been nominated by President Trump. They are currently sitting in the United States Senate, and the United States Senate has full constitutional authority to consider them and confirm them. And no matter how those other things shake out, Jordan, they would sit on the federal bench for the rest of their lives or until they retired. That is absolutely something that is worth fighting for, and it yields, Jordan, the results that you talked about yesterday and that we're talking about again today.
I mean, so we're looking at ways states can defund Planned Parenthood. We're looking at, and by the way, they're defunding Planned Parenthood because utilizing those videos they saw of how Planned Parenthood was misusing funds and carrying out abortions the wrong way so that they could sell, body parts, things like that of aborted babies. That's what these states base their defunding on. Why are they defunding this way through Medicaid? And you've got an en banc panel saying you can do that now. And you can do that now in Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi. And I think it'll encourage other states to pass similar laws. They'll be challenged by Planned Parenthood, but they know they've got a much more friendly, it's not 100%, but a more friendly federal court system. And then, of course, and we're going to talk about the next segment, all the way to the top at the Supreme Court, too. So, Frank, just quickly, I think this just, it kind of shifts how we're working on all these cases, but it shifts how we'll be approaching, even regardless of who the president is, how we'll be approaching these cases and working with state legislatures and governors that are pro-life to get things done.
Yeah, it's a whole new day for the pro-life cause. It really is, thanks to these judicial appointments going forward.
Think about that. I thank Frank for joining us again today. Jeff Surtees will be joining us the next segment to talk about how this may end up at the U.S. Supreme Court. But understand that, folks. It's a new day and a new battle. Let's be ready for the battle. Let's be ready to file. Let's be ready to assist those states and those governors. Support the work of the ACLJ. Pro-life cause is one of our top causes. Donate today, aclj.org.
It is a critical time for our nation, and the American Center for Law and Justice is on the front lines, defending life and liberty, engaging the issues that matter most to you and your family. Whether it's working to protect Americans from the dangers of radical Islam and the persecution of Christians, to defending life at the U.S. Supreme Court, to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms, we could not do this work without you, without your support. And now your support can really make a tremendous difference. For a limited time, you can participate in the ACLJ Matching Challenge. If you make a gift now, it will be doubled. $25 becomes $50. A $100 gift becomes $200. Please stand with the ACLJ right now and call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or go online at aclj.org. Thank you for your support.
When a woman gets pregnant, their motherly instincts just kick right into gear. It's how we're wired, it's how we're created, and I short-circuited mine.
I still remember staring up at that bright light and counting backwards from 10.
It was very, very painful. I've never felt pain like that in my life. I remember the nurse giving me sedation, and she just kept rubbing my arm, shushing me.
I didn't want the baggage because I had a vision for my life, and it didn't include children.
When I found myself pregnant, Roe v. Wade had just happened. It was all in the news. I called my doctor. He said, no problem. We can take care of it.
I was told that it was just a blob of tissue. I wasn't given any choices as far as ultrasounds or why don't you go home, think about it, and then come back. Nothing like that. There was nothing positive.
When I stood up, and I fainted. I think I fainted because of the horror of what I had done. I realized that I was missing a large part of me.
I'd actually ended up being pretty volatile and got a little physical with the nurse. I slapped her across the face. And I remember because I didn't want anyone to see me. I didn't want anyone to know. They don't let you walk back out the front. There's a private exit. And later on in life, I wondered, had I seen someone like me in the state I was in at that moment after that abortion walk back out the front clinic, maybe I wouldn't have done it.
We at the American Center for Law and Justice have been dedicated to the fight for life for over 3 decades. We are part of the fight. We want you to be there with us. We are in a matching challenge here at the American Center for Law and Justice. We encourage you to participate. Matching challenges are very important for our ongoing work here at the ACLJ. Simply go to aclj.org and become part of the Matching Challenge campaign.
Back-to-back pro-life victories in the Sixth Circuit and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. As you heard from Frank Mannion, I mean, this is kind of a new day for the pro-life movement when it comes to battling in court, supporting good state legislation. We work with states all the time on this legislation to make it the best possible because we know it will be challenged in court. So get ready. In the case out of the Sixth Circuit, of course, we worked with the Tennessee Attorney General, directly asked us to come and be involved. This case out of the Fifth Circuit dates back to 2015, and the states kept going back, kept fighting, and the judiciary significantly shifted within the Fifth Circuit to a point where when it went en banc, it wasn't at the 3-judge panel, it went en banc, they won 11-5 to be able to stop funding, to be able to defund Planned Parenthood through Medicaid. Jeff Surtees, also senior counsel with us, the ACLJ, works on a lot of the pro-life issues with us, is also joining us right now. Because, Jeff, what I wanted to focus on with you is, after we discuss this with Frank, is that ultimately these cases that involve the abortion issue make their way almost all of the time to the U.S. Supreme Court. Do you see this, the case we're talking about today, that of the Fifth Circuit, and likely the one out of the Sixth Circuit too, ultimately being before the Supreme Court?
I really do, Jordan. Let's just take the decision from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals regarding Planned Parenthood funding. We now have what we call a split in the circuits regarding that issue, whether or not Planned Parenthood can sue under federal law to question a state's determination that they are no longer a qualified provider under the Medicaid law. And you have a split in the circuits where you've got the Fourth Circuit, the Sixth, the Seventh, the Ninth, and the 10th, all saying that Planned Parenthood does, in fact, have that right. But now with the Fifth Circuit's decision, you've got the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, you've got the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals saying that no, Planned Parenthood doesn't have that right. Now, because we're dealing with the interpretation of federal law, and because we have a clear split in the circuits, with a majority of the circuit courts of appeals having ruled on this very issue, the Supreme Court, as much as it wants to try to avoid controversy at times, is not taking an activist approach to these things. It's not going to be able to ignore this issue much longer. And I imagine that if Planned Parenthood does go ahead and file a cert petition with the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court is not going to turn away that cert petition. But that's the strategy position that Planned Parenthood has to make here. We're now looking at, with Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Barrett now on the court, they got to be wondering whether or not they now have a chance before the United States Supreme Court to prevail on that issue. And if they take that case up to the Supreme Court and they lose, then that's going to directly undermine the victories that they have scored in all those other circuit courts of appeals that I have mentioned. So going back to what you were talking about earlier with Frank, the legacy of President Trump, and hopefully this legacy will continue, has been enormous now that we have 1/3 of the United States Supreme Court having been appointed by President Trump.
This is new, folks, that you're getting these pro-life victories on en banc panels with new circuit courts at play, and the Fifth Circuit saying states can defund Planned Parenthood through Medicaid. They don't have to fund them through Medicaid, and this affects Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. It was an en banc panel, so it will likely head to the Supreme Court. But as Jeff Surtees, our senior counsel, mentioned, and Jeff and Frank focus so much on the pro-life issues, that if this Planned Parenthood has to make a different calculation now that President Trump has put Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, and let me underscore that, Barrett, on the bench of the Supreme Court. Because if they lose Planned Parenthood at the Supreme Court, states have the precedent to go in, not have to worry about the legal challenges so much, and do exactly what Texas and Louisiana have been fighting to do since we've been with that fight since 2015, so since the Obama administration. And it underscores to you how you can move forward in these battles, regardless of if you've got a friendly administration like the Trump administration or a hostile administration like a Biden administration, because these battles underscore that. And Than, this to me, I think it just breathes new life into the pro-life effort, takes it down to the state level and the federal courts. And of course, it is very important to see that how those Georgia Senate races, explain that to people too, as we're kind of forward-looking here to January 5th, how those Georgia Senate races impact this directly too.
Yeah, well, the way our government is set up, Jordan, as you know, I mean, some of these issues cease, and when an administration changes, some carry over, like the legacy of the federal judiciary. All these judges will continue, so they will continue to hear cases like the ones we're talking about today. And then on some things, Jordan, there's an overlap, and that's where the races in Georgia come in. If Democrats were to pick up both seats in the state of Georgia, that would make a 50-50 split in the United States Senate. And if Vice President Biden prevails and there is a Biden administration, that would give the Democrat Party control of the White House, the Senate, and the United States House. So on the issues that it takes legislative action, which, by the way, the issue we're talking about today has a legislative component, they could go in and try to eliminate these states' ability to defund Planned Parenthood through Medicaid through legislation, Jordan. They could change the legislation that authorizes Medicaid and say that Planned Parenthood and others that are situated like it must receive those dollars. There is a lot of discretion to states right now, and that's why we're able to litigate in that space. So, Jordan, while we're in this posture of we don't know exactly what next year will look like, it's why it's so important that we focus on both the Senate, also the federal judiciary, while we wait to see what takes place in the election. And Jordan, just substantively, let me just make this comment on this case. There are limited Medicaid dollars available to the states. So, of course, they should be evaluating whether or not they want to spend those limited dollars on a life-ending procedure when they have an obligation to spend them on life-saving procedures. There's a lot of substance here that people don't think about.
You're learning about what we're planning in the future, the victories we've had this year, what the ACLJ is doing. This is a critical time to support the work of the ACLJ. This is a matching challenge month. Whatever you're able to donate to the ACLJ, we've got a group of donors that say whatever comes in, we will match those donations. Donate today. Double your impact at aclj.org.
Thanks to your support of the ACLJ, we have had many victories.
The IRS now formally apologizing to Tea Party groups.
The IRS did the right thing by resolving the case with an injunction that mandated a complete change of the IRS nonprofit tax-exempt work as it relates to issue advocacy organization.
If any group feels like they're being targeted, they can go to federal court and bring our case. That's a victory.
It's one of the most significant wins in the ACLJ's history, to take on the IRS and win.
For more than 27 years, the ACLJ has been fighting for freedom and liberty in the United States and around the globe.
These are young people in their 20s and 30s that are doing this. They're fighting for life at a whole new level to beat back the abortion juggernaut. We've got a whole group of young lawyers that are defending them.
Those of us that believe in life know that we're on the right side of history. We understand full well children are children, and they're precious in God's sight, and they're precious in our nation's sight, and they're precious to parents.
But I actually think we're winning this. This is one of the social issues we're winning.
The release of Andrew Brunson. He is the American evangelical from North Carolina, held in Turkey for more than 2 years.
They're rushing us to the airport, and there was an Air Force plane that came from Germany that had been on standby. We're flying, and they finally left Turkish airspace. It's like, okay, now we're really out of Turkey and free again.
We're grateful to ACLJ who put it out to these people, they were getting all this out.
All of the people who prayed for us through ACLJ and through your contacts, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and actually I'm astounded.
We need your help as we continue this work here in the United States and around the world. Join the matching challenge today, and your tax-deductible donation will be doubled.